Can you?
Sunday morning Kollel. And this shir is also for the merit of the soul of
Simcha ben Alexander.
Simcha ben Alexander. May the neshama have an elevation, aliyah, in Gan Eden, and may the soul have much nachas from the family down below, from the Torah they learn, the mitzvahs they fulfill. Nostalgia for Chezkas Habatim. That's the title of the shir. Rav Yisroel Labkowski weaves his magic. What are we talking about? One of the most colorful prokim in Shas that Bochum learn in Yeshiva is known as Chezkas Habatim. It's the third parak in Baba Basra. It's monetary law. It's a law of the land. That doesn't mean the law of the country you live in, but literally possession. How can you prove ownership of real estate? That's what it refers to. And it's interesting because there's very few psukim involved. It's pretty much all logic. It's all other parts of damaging laws. We're Parshas Mishpatim. Parshas Mishpatim, this is the source of all laws of damages. And in almost all areas, there's a pasuk you have to fall back on for the basics. When it comes to Chezkas Habatim, it's pretty much all just logic from the beginning till the very end. So that makes it unique. In fact, that's why the Rambam writes, that's why Baba Basra is the last of the different Bavas, because there's a big chunk of it not based on psukim, just based on logic, and therefher the Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said it in last. That doesn't go for the whole Baba Basra. There's laws of inheritance, etc., which definitely comes from psukim. But you have this whole chunk of monetary law, which the Chachamim decided based on the Roich of Daiton, based on their tremendous understanding, their depth of perception into human nature. And in Australia, where I grew up, in my father's shul, there was an old Yid, one of these old timers from, he was from before the war, he was a survivor. When I knew him, he was already very old. And he once spoke to me, and because I had gone overseas to learn. So I came back to visit, he says, Mendel, was to Geven. So I told him I went overseas to yeshiva. He says, really? There's still yeshivas today? He came to Australia after the war, and that's it, He's really? There's still yeshivas? He said, there are still people that know Chezkas Habatim? That was his reaction. Are there still people that know Chezkas Habatim? That was his golden yeshiva days. In Chezkas Habatim, we only have Rashi's commentary for the very beginning. For the vast majority, we have Rashi's grandson, the Rashbam. And the Rashbam is very different than Rashi. Rashi is concise, he's cryptic, he says what he needs to and he moves on. The Rashbam is Mayrich, the Rashbam goes on, he's beautiful, he's eloquent, and he elaborates, but sometimes he just elaborates so much that it becomes confusing because he seems to add details that seem to not be necessary. It's like, hang on, it was well understood before he said that extra line. Why did he have to throw that in? When the great Reb Shimon Shkop, big Rosh Yeshiva before the Holocaust, so he learned he spent some time in Volozhin, right, the mother of all yeshivas, till Tom Chetzmim came. The yeshiva of Volozhin. And Reb Shimon Shkop was there. He was learning Baba Basra. He was learning Chezkas Habatim. He was stuck on a Rashbam. It was a night of the week. It was a random night. It was late at night, probably the wee hours of the morning. And there were Bochum learning. And in walks in the Rosh Yeshiva, the Netziv. He walks in middle of the night, and it's like this was the Rosh Yeshiva. And the Reb Shimon Shkop, besides from Marv and the Yeshiva, walks in the middle of the night to learn. No, they went right away to pepper him with their questions. So Reb Shimon went to the Netziv and he asked him, can you help me understand this paragraph in the Rashbam? The Netziv looks at it and he says, if you would only know how many times I went to the Kvarim. I went to the cemetery, to the cave, the Kvarim of the Tzadikim, and asked the Eibishter to enlighten my eyes to understand this Rashbam. And whenever I learn Chezkas Habatim and I get stuck in a Rashbam, I say, this must be the Rashbam that Reb Shimon. But on every page you could say, this is the Rashbam, that's the Rashbam. Because it happens time and time again. In the summer, I was spent a couple of days in Tannersville. Verbrenged a little with Rav Hershel Shechter, heard some shurim from him. And he commented that the Rashbam sometimes is so myrich, he says so much information, that he ends up tripping so that he gets himself in trouble. So I have a different sentiment, that the Rashbam is so myrich, he gets me in trouble. He gets us in trouble. Because sometimes if you learn the first part of what he said, it's so clear, and then the extra information seems to be unnecessary, redundant, and then you feel like you don't understand the whole discussion, and it can be a setback. Anyhow, so that's Chezkas Habatim. And before we begin with number one, just a drop of background, just to fully understand where we're coming from, to know where we're going to. When it comes to movable objects, possession is a testament to ownership. We assume if somebody possesses something that it's theirs. There's a Chazakah, Kol Masha Tachash Yoda Shalodam, Shaloyu, something which is under your hand. If you have possession, you possess something, there's a presumption. That testament's a bit strong. Presumption. There's an assumption, a presumption that it's yours. In fact, if two witnesses see you grab something from me, I can take you to court and the Bezdin will force you to give it back to me, even though the witnesses have no idea whose it truly belongs to. They can't say that you're a thief. Maybe you say it's yours, it was always yours. They don't know that it's not. They just say you're a choitiv. They know you grabbed it. They can testify on the chatifa, on the grabbing. They can't testify on the gneiv or the gzela. They don't know if it's truly stolen. But it doesn't matter, because I bet the Eidim saw that I possessed it, they saw you grab it. In the eyes of Bezdin, the Chazakah, the possession that I had, is good enough proof that it's mine, and they will use that to extract the money from you. Right? The possession that I had, the Chazakah, is strong enough to extract that money from you. Even though the Eidim admit they don't know really who it belongs to. That's when it comes to movable objects. Kol masha tachas yoda shalodim, whatever's under a person's hand is his. And there's a lot of discussion, is it a proof that it's yours, or Bezdin will just consider it yours? And that's something that Bochrim break their heads in, day out. That's when it comes to movable objects. When it comes to real estate, it's very different. You can't possess land. Land possesses you. When you walk into a field, you're not holding the land. Land isn't in your cash. The land possesses you. So when it comes to real estate, the last known owner is always considered the current possessor. It's called the Morakama. The original owner is the current possessor. If all of a sudden somebody is in my house, and I say, get out of here, and he says he bought it from me, and he has no proof, and he's not leaving, so Bezdin has to come to the house. Bezdin will throw him out. The person that's there, has a claim to the house, he bought it. But I'm the original owner. I'm still in possession. That guy's not in possession. When it comes to movable objects, if I had a watch, right, a type of item that I wouldn't really lend out, and then all of a sudden you have it, okay, and you claim that you bought it from me, or I gave it to you as a gift, you'd be believed. Even if I summon witnesses that I once owned it, right? And we know that you have it, you can't deny it, but your claim is that I sold it to you, I gave it to you. Bezdin will allow you to keep it. Now the shah is whether they believe you or they just leave it in your hands, that's the question. But the law remains the same, they allow you to hold on to it, because he's in current possession of it. But by real estate, it doesn't work like that. The guy that breaks into my home is not in current possession. The current possessor is the original owner. Okay, that's just it. So here's the issue though. So then, what if someone does sell you a property? And 10 years later, he goes, you sell your house, you go to Israel for 10 years, right? But how long could you spend by the Yam HaMelech? You've practically turned into a pillar of salt yourself. Then you come back over here, and then you come to court and you say, this guy is a squatter, he's in my house for 10 years, remove him. And the guy says he bought it. So what, Bezdin's going to remove the guy? And that would be ludicrous. So the law is that it goes 3 years. 3 years is the marker. If less than 3 years have passed, and Itaka went to Israel, and you've been squatting in my house, and I come back, and I say, get out of here, and you say you bought it, Bezdin will say, so where's your documentation? Where you bought it, where's your proof? Once 3 years have passed, you're no longer expected to have that proof, and therefore you can remain in the house or the field, okay? It's the rule. That's how Chezkas Habatim begins. It takes 3 years to make this. Now, this is called a Chazakah. The word Chazakah has many meanings. Over here, it means to be able to become the legal possessor and therefore have presumption of ownership on land, 3 years, if you don't have any documentation. Now, the question to them is, if I go to Israel, Taka for 5 years to soak in the Yam HaMelech, anyone could squat in my house, I come back. So there's a plan of action. Within 3 years, even if I'm soaking in the Yam HaMelech, I'm going to hear that someone in Miami, there's travel, people go back and forth, I'm going to hear that someone's in my house. So what I need to do is make a protest, a macha. I'm going to call a couple people together, witnesses, make a macha, a protest, that this guy's squatting in my house, I'm busy, I can't go back to Miami, I'm busy here in Israel. The shakshuka is unbelievable, but because they didn't have the Sunday morning breakfast. If they would know about the doctor's Sunday morning breakfast, they'll all be running back. So, and then we assume that news of that protest will come back here. What happens then? So here's the deal. There is an assumption that people hold on to their documentation for 3 years. Why? So the Rashba explains, even according to the purchaser that he purchased it, they're always concerned the owner may forget or may create a case, may lie, that they never sold it. So the purchaser holds on to the deed, to the proof of purchase, to save their back, to protect themselves. But once 1 year passes, 2 years, 3 years, and the original owner was silent, he's probably, if 3 years passed and he was silent, then he's never going to try and reclaim the house. So I have no reason to hold on to my document. I become careless and I can lose it. But until 3 years, you do hold on to it. So if within 3 years you hear that I protested from Israel, you still have that document within 3 years. And once you hear the protest, you're going to hold on to it for another 3 years. It's only 3 years of silence that allows you to become comfortable to lose your document. So I have that recourse of action. If I am out of town for 10 years, then within every 3 years, I need a protest. Once I protest, the shot clock restarts, but you still only have 3 years. Because once another 3 years passes, Weiter, the machzik, the guy that's there, thinks, well, the owner forgot about it, he's no longer interested in fighting. That's the general rule, okay? Now, there are many, many specifics to this. To make this Chazakah, the Gemara is very specific. It needs to be 3 years. If it's a home, you can't just be there by day and sleep somewhere else at night. You have to be there day, you have to be there by night. If it's a field, you have to use the entire field. If I had a field, a nice big plot of land, right? You know, there was once a gvir and an Ottoman, a wealthy man, a poor man were talking, and the wealthy man says, you know what? I used to be able to get in my car, start my engine, drive for a half hour, and I still wouldn't have come to the end of my property. The poor man says, yeah, I used to have a car like that too. Anyhow, you have a big field, and you're only using half the field or 2/3 of the field. Even if you're there for 3 years, after 3 years you claim you bought the whole thing, Bezdin will only award you the part that you used. The other part, I'm going to get back. Yeah. And not just that, even if the part you didn't use, you couldn't plant, it was rocky, Bezdin will say you lose it because you could have used the rocks. You could have spread things to dry on the rocks. You could have used it. And it's upon you to use it. If you want to make a chazakah, you have to go out of your way and use it. Or hold on to your documentation forever, or else you run the risk of losing that. So, the Gemara has a whole Ummah discussing plowing. If plowing in the field is considered using the field, or you actually have to have benefit of using the fruits. And the Gemara brings opinions in both ways. The halacha is near plowing doesn't work. If you just plow the field, it's not enough. You need to benefit from the field. You need to benefit, and you need to benefit from it in a prime fashion. And there's a rule. The key rule is like this. If the owner can explain away why he didn't protest, then we're going to award him the field back. If the owner can explain why he didn't protest, so first we'll explain why he was silent, but also we turn to the guy that's there and say, you should have realized that the guy wasn't protesting for a reason, and therefore you shouldn't have been comfortable to lose your documentation. Right? So the original guy justifies his silence, and the new guy is not justified for losing his documents. What would be a case where the original owner can justify his silence? If the guy that's there used it in a fashion that doesn't demonstrate ownership. For example, he went in the field, he planted things and cut them, harvested before they were ripe. It's as if he was wearing the hat of a ganav, that he was quickly trying to get what he could before anybody saw him there. Then the owner will say, I heard he was there. I can't protest against every guy that comes in my field. To me, it was obvious he was doing a hit and run. He was doing a quick thing. So if I wasn't threatened that this guy was acting as an owner, then I can justify my silence. It needs to be the guy that's there is acting like he is Barabas. And then psychologically, I'm like, hey, people are going to think he bought the field from me, and if it's not the case, I got to make a protest. So therefore, the guy that's in the field has to use it out, has to really squeeze it out for whatever it's worth. And plowing doesn't count la halacha. Rav Hai Gon explains, and this is important, because if you just plow, you didn't have any benefit. As long as you don't have benefit, the owner's like, good, you're working my field for me, thank you very much. Plow, gesundheit. I'm not threatened there. Well, once you take the fruits home, then I'm threatened. Then you're acting like balabos. Okay? So knowing this, let's go to number one. This is a Gemara in Baba Basra, Daf Lamed Vav. Amar Rav Yehuda, this is a fascinating, okay, you'll see where this goes. Amar Rav Yehuda, said Rav Yehuda, Ochla Orlah. What if the year or the years that the new guy's in the field, the fruits of the tree were Orlah? Let's say the new guy that comes finds an empty field and he plants. So the first 3 years, the fruits are forbidden for benefit. It's also biblically to have benefit from the fruits. Or let's say even the original owner planted the trees and then he went overseas and the new guy comes in. It's Orlah for a year or 2 or 3. But this new guy actually harvested the fruits. He harvested Orlah fruits, forbidden fruits. So does that count? So, Eino Chazakah, it's not a Chazakah. This is the way we have it. Hold on. Says the Gemara, number Tanya Nami Hachi, second line of number. There's also a Brisa. Ochla, Orlah, Shevi'is, Kilayim. Let's say the guy that's there uses the field. Let's say he really striked. 1 year the fruits were Orlah. 1 year was Shemitah. Now, if it's Shemitah, the issue could be that he worked the field during Shemitah. Or that, like we discussed on Thursday night, you're only allowed, if you own a field, you're allowed to hoard the fruits of the field in your home, as long as there are some fruits in the field for the public to have. Once there's nothing left in the field, you can't hoard your fruits any longer. So maybe it's referring to that this guy did hoard the fruits for the rest of the year. Or it could just be that he didn't do any violation. He used the field like everyone uses it on Shemitah. But the problem is it's hefker. So he's like anybody else. His using the field didn't demonstrate any stance of ownership. Okay. The last case is Kilayim. That now there's different types of Kilayim. The general Kilayim is mixing seeds. The prohibition is to plant. The actual result is mutter to consume. Kilay hakerem, if it's vineyard Kilayim, then it's serious. If you have grains or vegetation inside a vineyard, then it's biblically prohibited to have any benefit from the result. And most learn that's what we're talking about. He violated, it's a vineyard, he has other stuff growing there, and it's all prohibited for benefit, but this guy spent a year or maybe all 3 years cultivating that. So the Brisa says, Eino Chazakah. In all these cases, it doesn't work. That's the version we have. Look in number 2, says the Rashbam, let me explain. Ochla Orlah. Achas min hashalosh, in one of the 3 years, was a year of Orlah, let's say. Eina Chazakah. So Rashbam says, why? Why? He gives an important logic. Because the owner hears about it bathing in the Yam HaMelech, right? He doesn't care that there's this Yankel Berul in his field eating Orlah. Because the owner couldn't have used it either. Bishnas Orlah. He couldn't have used it. That's why he didn't protest. And for sure, if all 3 years were years of Orlah. The owner's not threatened because I couldn't have used it myself.
Same type of logic in a way.
That's what the Rashbam says. And then he says, Orlah, which we just mentioned, and Kilayim achilosan be'isr. The issue is that they're usr. Now, Kilayim is different because if it's the new guy that planted the Kilayim, listen to the nuance. If the new guy planted it, the original owner should be threatened because had he been here, he didn't have to plant the Kilayim. Orlah, whoever's planting the fruit is going to be Orlah, so that's unavoidable. Kilayim was avoidable. So the logic the Rashbam gave for Orlah does not pertain to Kilayim. If the new guy planted, it's a vineyard, the new guy planted other stuff in the vineyard, the owner in the Yam HaMelech, had he been here, he wouldn't have done that, so he could have used that field for that time.
At any time.
No, by Orlah...
No, I mean to say is that the cheshbon is not that the Balabas and the Melech wants to plant. It's that he doesn't want someone else taking things there.
But if he feels threatened, he should feel threatened because this guy has taken whatever the field could have offered. The Balabas could have had benefit had he been there. Then he says, but what about Shevi'is? Shmita, the issue is Hefker. Rashbam says the guy didn't violate Shmita, that's not what happened. But because Hefker lakoil, but everyone can have. So this guy taking the fruits doesn't have a stronger hand than anybody. Lokach lo micha, therefore the guy wasn't protesting, and therefore the guy does not have a chazakah. In the Pirish of Rabbeinu Hana'ah, he has a different version. He says if you eat Orlah, Shmita, and Kilayim, it is a chazakah. Rabbeinu Hana'ah has the opposite. Rashbam v'loinir, I don't think it's right. Rabbeinu Hana'ah has just the opposite. Now it's not just Rabbeinu Hana'ah. Tosfos holds that it works. Tosfos says the correct gears like Rabbeinu Hana'ah does work. As the Rambam, as the Ravid, they all learn that it actually does work. Based on what? Look at number 3. Number 3 is a Gemara in Ksuvas. If somebody is married, okay, and his wife brings certain possessions into the marriage that the husband can use, and the husband spends money to improve those possessions. And then there's a divorce, so the wife takes the possessions with all the improvement that the husband spent. Can he sue her for reimbursement? That's what the Gemara is talking about. So the Mishneh says it depends. If the husband already gained from his expenses, once he already gained from it, that's it. But if he hasn't yet had a chance to gain from what he spent, he can actually sue her for reimbursement. So the Gemara says, Avad Rav Yehuda Uvda. These are another. Rav Yehuda did a story by Chavile Zmuris. There was a guy who spent money on his wife's field, a kerem, a vineyard, and he spent a nice amount, and he used some of the vines to feed to his animals. And then he divorced her, so he wants all the money back. She says, you already enjoyed, but you used it for your animals. Rav Yehuda said she wins the case. He's considered like the husband used it. Says the Rav Yehuda l'tamei. Rav Yehuda, he's following his own opinion. Because we're number 3, Rav Yehuda says, and it's the same statement as number 1, if you ate Orlah, Shevi'is, v'Kilayim for 3 years, harizeh chazakah. It is a chazakah. So you see from here, Rav Yehuda said not that it isn't, but it is. It actually is a chazakah. It is a chazakah. What's the connection? So the great Ri, one of the greatest of all the Rishonim, in Tosfos says that when Rav Yehuda says if you ate the field, Orlah, Shevi'is, Kilayim, it's talking about you use the branches. Because the branches are permitted. Orlah is only the fruits are forbidden, not the branches. Shmita as well, only the fruits are hefker, not the branches. And Kilayim as well, they explain like by Kilayim, if you have long branches and then you plant, then you start to plant grain, so if whatever grows now, 1/200th of its full growth becomes usher. That's the shear that it has to. But the vines are already so big, it'll take them longer to grow. One of their 200ths more than the fruits. So they can remain mutter while the fruits are already usher. Okay, that's the cheshbon of the...
How do you benefit from a branch?
How do you benefit from a branch? You bring it to shear, and people ask too many questions, you beat them up. What do you mean? You hit people with it. You hit people with the stick. That's what ready from Adam and Chava. Chava took the branch and hit Adam, so you should eat. Yes, you get good use out of it. So hold on. So what's the Re saying? What's the Re of Taisus saying? He's saying, first, I disagree with Rashbam, who's the Re's uncle. Right? The Re's mother, Miriam, was a sister of Rashbam. I disagree with my uncle. I think Rabbeinu Hananel's right, that if you use the field for Orlah, Shevi'is, Kilayim, it is a Chazakah. But it's not talking about the fruits, it's talking about the branches. And that's Pshat in number 3, clearly. You see, number 3, Rav Yehuda said it works to Shevi'is and Kilayim and the Orlah, but it's talking about branches because we're trying to bring a proof to the husband and the wife by the branches. Azoi zok Taisus. Hold on. Hold on. Comes the Ramban in number 4, and the Ramban quotes Rav Hai Gon on the matter. Umasha Pidush Rabbeinu Hagon Zal. You know what Rav Hai Gon says in Sefer HaMekach? It's a Sefer he wrote on monetary law. Rav Hai Gon says no. The guy ate the fruits and it works. This we haven't heard. Till now we heard the only ones that say it works if you eat the branches. Rav Hai says no. You ate the fruits, you ate the forbidden fruit and it works. Even though you ate something which was a violation of Torah code, Mahan Yelech, it works. Rav Hai Gon says you can eat the Orlah fruits and it works. You can eat the Kilayim, you can eat the Osir thing and it works. Says Ramban Einoi, can't be. Because if Rav Yehuda is talking about eating the fruits, so in number 3, how does the Gemara connect that to the story of the husband and wife when the husband used the branches to feed the animal? She'im kain heyach omer. How did Rav Yehuda? Question. How could the Rav Yehuda letamei that he holds that eating the chaviles muris, or the vines of the ropes of the vines is eating? He was talking about you ate the actual fruit. Right, so the Rambam, everyone asks on Rav Hai Gon, if Rav Yehuda is talking about the fruits, how could the Gemara compare that to the husband and wife story, which was the vines of the vineyard? So comes the Ramban and says, "V'li nirish adinim." I have a way to answer. Right, the Ramban always wants to defend the. I have a way to answer Rav Hai Gon. Listen to the brilliance. Only by Kilayim it works to eat the fruits. By Orlah and Shemitah, it needs to be the branches. Rav Hai Gon, when he said the fruits, he meant Kilayim. Only there it works. By Shemitah and Orlah, the branches. Why? What's the logic? I'll tell you the logic. The bish loy megabe Orlah and Shevi'is. By Orlah and Shemitah, you need the branches. Ilav mishum zmuris. If not for the branches, if the guy ate the fruit, matzu ba'alamem, the owner can say, my deloy matzinon anan lisnuibe. If I myself couldn't benefit, let anybody have. When it comes to the Orlah, taka, the fruits wouldn't work because the owner will say, I couldn't use it myself. The branches I could, so I should have protested. So then it'll be a Chazakah. So too by Shemitah, all the fruits are hefker. So therefore, by Shemitah, you have to use the branches. When Rav Hai Gon spoke about fruits, he meant Kilayim and Kilayim alone. Why? As far I told you before. If the new guy planted Kilayim in the vineyard, what's me in the Yam HaMelech? What's my claim? I couldn't use it anyways. If I was here, I wouldn't have planted Kilayim. The field was usable. This guy has removed usage from me. Right? You have to look at it that way. Nehi, it's true. The inu asir, it's true. It's asur. But I should have been meichel lafuki to remove the land from this guy's head. Ulemizrei inun, I'll plant it heter. Umichan, I'll be able to eat it. Masha'enkin, by Orlah and Shemitah, the shot, the gufal of the year itself is off limits. By Orlah and Shemitah, there's no way I could benefit on the fruit. So if you use the fruit, it doesn't work. You have to use the branches. By Kilayim, even if you use the fruit, it works against me. So Rav Hai Gon was talking about only by Kilayim, when you use the Itchadika fruits, it works for a Chazakah. That's the Rambam. Comes the Rambam in number 5, and the Rambam seems to say different. The Rambam is the most liberal over here, number 5. Orlah, Shevi'is, Kilayim. If you ate these 3, mashma the fruit, even though shenene baveri you benefited with a sin, harizu chazakah it works. The Rambam has the version of Rabbeinu Hana'ah, who the Rambam Bechal often follows Rabbeinu Hana'ah, just because historically, the Rambam's father, Reb Maimon, was a great student of Rabbi Yosef ibn Migash, who was the successor of the Rif, who was a student of Rabbeinu Hana'ah. So it's like there's a whole chain over there. So the Rambam has Rabbeinu Hana'ah's version that there is a Chazakah, and he doesn't say the branches. That he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't hold like Tosfos. In other words, what I think is that the Rambam holds like Rav Hai Gaon, and he disagrees with the Ramban. The Ramban says Rav Hai Gaon when he said the fruits only Kilayim. The Rambam says no. By Orlah as well, even though it's forbidden fruits, clearly because the Rambam says Nene Ba'avera about all 3. According to the Ramban, Rav Hai Gaon only allowed the Avera by Kilayim, by the Shmit and the Orlah using the branches, which is okay. The Rambam clearly disagrees. The Ravid on the side says Shibushu, this is a mistake. The Rambam's in error. On number 5, just on right next to the Rambam, the Ravid is always tailing right behind. By the Ravid's critique is printed not on the side of the page, in the middle of the Rambam. And it was for a reason. They said it was, why Bechlal was the Ravid sharp in his critique against the Rambam? By the way, I've said many times, when you look at how the Ravid critiques the Baal Hamor, who was his contemporary in Provence, the Ravid wipes the floor with him, and you can't even imagine. You get goosebumps by reading the Ravid's wording, how he belittles the Baal Hamor. You see, when the Ravid attacks the Rambam, it's with Rachmanis. Shibush, it was an error. You see, the Ravid does not deal with the Rambam. He has a lot of respect for the Rambam, but he says he feels this halacha is incorrect. But the reason that the Ravid still writes these terminology of it's a mistake and this and that is because, well, I told you that Amem Mipanu, Menachem Azariah Fanu says that the Ravid was worried the world was taking Meir Nevuchim too seriously. The whole world was running with the Meir Nevuchim, and the Rambam basically made Aristotle kosher, and people were getting involved to become more bahavant, more familiar in secular philosophy, in Greek philosophy, and all using the Rambam as their support. So the Ravid wanted to say, hold on a second, you think the Rambam's philosophy is unfailable? Even his halachas aren't perfect. That's what the Rameh Mipanu says. And I've seen a number of historians say that Rameh Mipanu is incorrect because the Meir Nevuchim was only translated into Hebrew after the Ravid passed away. And I saw a number, and I've seen on some Lubavitch websites that Lubavitch scholars quote these modern scholars to knock off the Rameh Mipanu. And to me, it's absolutely outrageous. The Rameh Mipanu is one of the greatest Kabbalists. We trust him for what goes on in heaven, but for what goes on planet Earth, we don't trust him. So throw out everything he says. More than that, the question itself is nonsense, because the Rambam's Meir Nevuchim was before printing, but it was already being disseminated while the Ravid was alive. You think no one in Provence spoke Arabic? You think the Ravid didn't hear what the Rambam wrote in the Meir Nevuchim before it's translated to Hebrew? It's not about it. And very surprising that I think like modern scholarship is often like modern art, right? No, I think. But I don't know about why he was sharp. Some believe that because the Rambam in his halachas, it's just the Rambam has his way or the highway. The Rambam doesn't bring other opinions, doesn't bring sources. The Rambam says, learn Chumash, go straight to me. The Ravid was a little put off by that. So they stuck the Ravid's critique in the middle of the Rambam. The Rambam says, my way or the highway, and you have a dissenting opinion right over here. Whoever did it. Anyhow, but what does the Ravid say? The loy amru ela shachilas eitzim shma achila. The Ravid learns like the Re. It's talking about the branches of the Orlah tree. It's talking about the branches of the Shemitah. It's talking about the branches of the vines. Now, using vines is abnormal. Whenever you've used the field in an abnormal fashion, the owner's like, come on, that guy wasn't seriously taking possession. So the Ravid says, no, if that's your only option, the abnormal becomes normal. Since leka periach, there's no other fruit, the fruits are usher. The only thing the guy could use are the branches. When the abnormal is the only option, it becomes normal, right? That's a good logic. No, that's for sure. How else should the guy how are you supposed to make a chazakah during Shemitah? You do what you could do. It's not the full-fledged usage. Well, you can't. So the abnormal becomes normal. But the Ravid is learning like the Ri. It's talking about you used it, the permissible, the branches. The Rambam says, no, you use the forbidden fruits by all three. Okay. If you look in number 7, just a quote of Art, Rabbi Yonis and Eibeshitz.
I have an open question, right?
What? Okay. Hold on. Everything will be explained. Oh my God, it's very interesting. Rav Yonis and Eibeshitz, the great Rav Yonis, wrote a work on Choshen Mishpat called Urim V'Tumim. Mamish, a classic. We actually once saw that in our shir we had about Rav Yonis a long time ago, defending him from the Shabsai Tzvi accusations, that the Urim V'Tumim was only published maybe after he passed away later on. And there was a group of 3 fellows who became the greatest rabbis of the next generation, who were students in the times of Rav Yonason. They lived in a different country and they heard about him, but schlep all the way to learn by him. Later on, they got hold of the Urim V'Tumim and they read his stuff and they said, such fools we were. We gave up an opportunity to learn by this master. So in Rav Yonis and Eibeshitz's Urim V'Tumim, which is on Choshen Mishpat, he has incredible mamar sparks of genius, and he has essays. I mean, it's in fact, when the Chezkas Habatim wrote his sefer on Choshen Mishpat, there is a story, they say, that the Chezkas Habatim was poor and he traveled around trying to sell his sefer or showing his sefer to other people. So he went to one certain town. The rabbi was a great scholar, and he showed him the sefer with manuscripts. And the rabbi says, listen, after the Yonis and Eibeshitz wrote the Urim V'Tumim, there's nothing left to discuss. Here, that's the pinnacle. What are you going to come add? Now, the Chezkas Habatim very often quotes from Rabbi Yonason, and he argues and this and that. So this rabbi spent the night looking through the manuscripts. The next morning, the Chezkas Habatim comes to shul and he hears that there's a Siyum Sefer Torah happening that day in town. Okay, great. So he comes to shul and there's festivities and everyone's waiting for the Sefer Torah. There's no Sefer Torah. Till finally the Rav walks in holding the manuscripts of the Chezkas Habatim. He said, this is the Sefer Torah that we're celebrating today. So the Chezkas Habatim found what to add. But the Urim V'Tumim was, and look over here, his spark of genius. Look at number 7. This is the Nesivos HaMishpat quote, Ubetumim Haisif. The Tumim says, why would it be that Kilayim is different than Orlah and Shemitah? Right? Rambam learned according to Rav Hai Gaon that Kilayim is different because by Kilayim, Balav Hachi Asisha, by Kilayim it comes out very good that even if you had the fruits, it works. Because the feed divi, according to me, right, the original owner says the new guy is a thief. If the new guy is a thief, he can't turn the field into Kilayim. Because there's a rule, according to the owner who says Gzela, that a field was stolen, the payers don't become usher. Because the rule is if Mesachech Gafna Gabit Fawasa Shachavere Loi Kiddush. If I cook your meat and milk, it becomes usher. But if I plant grain in your vineyard, this is more of a spiritual isser. I can't prohibit your vineyard. So if I come after 3 years and say, hey, get out of my field, and you didn't really use it, you used it for Kilayim. You were using it was usher. So if it was usher, that's an abnormal way of using it. I wasn't threatened. But according to my claim, it belongs to me. That means you didn't usher the field, so then it was good fruit. That's why the fruits of Kilayim are different than the other two. It's a spark of genius, but hold on, the Nesiva says, L'dvar of Kasha, he said he has a Kasha. Because what if I come after 3 years and I say, you're not a thief, you were renting it from me, and now you turned on me and claimed ownership, or I gave it to you as a mashkin for a loan, right? So according to my claim, you could make it usher, because you didn't steal it from me, you had pure rishus to use it. So then the Chazakah shouldn't work. I should be able to be mevatalit. That's the question that he has. Either way, fine. That's just another svara from Rabbi Yonasan Eibush. It's why Kilayim should be different. But the Rambam holds all three, Shemitah, Orlah. I don't care if you use the forbidden fruit. I don't care if you use it the whole Shemitah. And you work the field the entire year, it works. The Gemara number 3 says Rav Yehuda is talking about the branches. So number 6, the Maggid Mishneh is the Rambam's great defender. The Maggid Mishneh, Rab Vidal. Rab Chaim Vital says, by the way, he's a Gilgul, a reincarnation of the Maggid Mishneh, who lived 200 years before him. Rab Chaim Vital says, when I was the Maggid Mishneh, I laughed at those that learned Kabbalah. So I had to come back and spend my whole life learning Kabbalah. The Maggid Mishneh's last name was Vidal. Chaim Vital was Vital. The Maggid Mishneh, he just wants to say, if you look at number 6, he says, what will the Rambam say? That when you ate Orlah, there's 2 meanings, there's 2 possibilities. Either you ate the vines, or you ate the forbidden fruit. Either way works. He says the Rambam will hold either way works. You could use the vines. It's abnormal, but I don't want to violate and use the fruit. Or you could use the fruit. It's a violation, but I'm using the field. Either way works. Both are true. So the Gemara in Ksuvos was referring to the side of the coin of the branches. That's it, a simple answer that he gives. Okay. Where are we going with this? Okay. Number 8. There is another debate between the Rambam and Ravid in the laws of Brochos. Tray for food. Okay, Thursday night we spoke about cannibalism and tray for animals, tome animals, nevelas. If someone eats treif, do you make a bracha? Do you make a bracha? Says the Rambam in number 8, Kol ha'oichel dover has, anyone who eats forbidden food, whether it's on purpose, whether by mistake, you don't make a bracha on it. Not before, not after. Now, if it's by mistakes, and then you don't know that it's asur. But it means if afterwards you realize, right, you had a burger, you made a hamoitzi, you had a burger, then you find out after that the whole thing was treif. It was an accident. You don't make birchas hamazon. That's it. Avera gereris avera. You don't make it. You ate treif, no birchas hamazon. Now, from the Rambam, it seems whether it's let's say Ketzad, he gives a few examples. Harisha achal tevel shel, even if it's rabbinically a problem. Tevel is produce that Trum and Meiser was not removed from it. Some produce only needs tithes rabbinically. So prior to removing the Trum and Meiser, it's only rabbinic tevel. Doesn't matter. You don't make a bracha. Or you ate Meiser Rishon Shalai Nitlu Trumaisav. If I took a tenth and gave it to the Levi, but the Truma wasn't removed from that tenth, or Meiser Sheni Vehektish Shaloi Niftu Kilchasen. Meiser Sheni is in the 7-year cycle, so year 1 and 2 and year 4 and 5, there's a second Meiser which is taken, which you don't give to the Levi. You take it to Jerusalem, you eat it yourself with your family. The issue is, what if you have 10,000 nechveis, you have tons and tons of fruits and stuff, and I can't bring it all to Jerusalem. It's not going to work, You have to have a whole plane just for my fruits. So you redeem all the fruits on money. You bring the money to Yerushalayim and you buy stuff there, right? Then you party, your family, your friends, and don't forget about the needy as well. So, but if you didn't redeem those fruits, right, then you can't eat those fruits. So that's the case over here. Unless you bring them to Jerusalem. Outside you can't eat them. So that's just another example you can't bench. Ve'ein sorech loymar im, and the halacha finished if you ate poshet, a nevela, an animal that wasn't shechted. The Rambam holds there's no broch on forbidden food. Look on the left-hand side, says the Ravid, to bozeh tos g'doila. The Rambam made a big blunder over here. The Gemara never says she'ein mavarchen. Says the Ravid, the Gemara never said you don't bench. The Gemara says ein mezamna. The Gemara says by a zimun, you can't incorporate someone who ate tray for food. Why? Because ein lohem chashivus kviyas. For zimun, you have to have eaten to be part of a meal together. And there's no chashivus. There's nothing significant. Eating tray for food is like a snack. It's not significant. Hayil va'oichlin dover ha'asur. Someone eats something which is asur, it's like chapping a snack. It has no prestige. It has no importance, it has no significance. It's like eating fruit, she'ein lehem kevel zimun. When you need someone for a zimun, right? You need, let's say by 3, you need 2 people that washed. Or by 10, you need 7 people that washed, right? If one of those 7 washed on tray for food, right? You can't use him. It's like he never washed. But that's just of a bracha, but a bracha before and after, why not? You had Hana'ah. So the Ravid says you always make a bracha. The Rambam says not. What's the debate based on? Jump to number 10 is a Rogat Shover. The Rogat Shover has a theory of what the Rambam is saying, and let's see where this goes. The number 10 says the Rogat Shover, Kol ha'oichel davar chulu. The Rambam says no brachas. Ayin ba'az, look at the hasagas of the Ravid. The Tam Rabbeinu, why does the Ram say what he say? Because severely the Rambam holds einoinen mimaychel iser. The Rambam holds forbidden food is disgusting. You don't really benefit from it, even if you eat it purposefully. You feel so bad that Jewish guilt is just, it's cooking inside of you, that you don't really enjoy it, you know? It's like the Bocher, they say, right? That he, one day in a big taiva, he's like, you know what, I really want to eat tray for food. Eat pig. Pig's only a loisasa, you get malchus for it. Chaylev, forbidden fat, gets chorus. So if you judge based on the punishment, it must be a real prohibition. Must be something really a huge taiva. But where are you going to get forbidden fats? The candles that were being used in the shul were made out of chaylev, forbidden fats. You're allowed to have benefit from it. So now he took the candles hard, right? Hard, like hard wax. He takes a bite out of it. He's like, I don't see what people find in these tray for foods. You know, like the poor. I don't see what rich men see in blintzes, right? So, and Michael Isser, there's no true geschmack, says the Rogat Shover, and he brings a few proofs. Look at this. Look at the next line. Ayin b'Yerushalmi and Trumas Tevolim, even tevel, which is really it's kosher produce. It's just the tithes haven't been removed. Truma and Meiser nafshe shalodam chasalov. You're disgusted, even though this food will become mutter one day. Since at the current moment it's osur, you're disgusted by it. And then he brings, look at the proofs. Look at what the Rambam writes in the laws of Trumas. Listen to this. If I damage Truma, then I just, that belonged to you, then I just pay for the Truma. What if I ate it and I enjoyed it? I ate it accidentally, right? Then I have to pay it plus an extra fifth. There's a difference of if you're nen or you have a geschmack or you're just mazik. So said the Rambam's talking about a nazir. Look at this. A nazir zor, a nazir was a non-kohen who drank yayin shel truma. Listen to the case. The guy's a nazir, a non-kohen. He accidentally drank wine of truma. So he's a non-kohen who drank truma. He needs to pay it plus a fifth. No. He has no geschmack because he's a nazir. And this broke his naziris. He's disgusted by it. It's considered that you damaged the wine, not that you enjoyed the wine. So you don't pay the extra fifth. Mishalim the Karen, Eina Mishalim the Chaymish, Davakamazik, you're a damager. You hear the case? No, so generally, right, so he's asking anyone that eats truma should be disgusted. No, because the fact that Abish allows you to pay for it plus a fifth kind of like, all right, there's a way out, doesn't. But the fact is the Nazir broke his Naziris with the yayin. And then he says, I have another raya. The Rambam in Hilchas Mechira. No, because Truma is different, because there you could pay it plus the Chaimish. But you see, Fakir, the Nazir drinking the wine is just a loisase, he has no geschmack. So that's where the Rambam gets it from. Tray for foods have no geschmack, no bracha. Somebody sells, you go to the store and you buy flesh, right? You pay your face, you pay 100 now, whatever. You pay whatever you pay for some good steak, you come home, and later on you find out that this was somehow a non-shechted amount of meat made its way into the grocery and you bought it. So you can get, if you haven't used the meat, you can obviously bring it back. It's a mekachtos, it's a mistake, it's not kosher, you get your money back. What if you ate it already? So the Rambam paskins like this. If what you bought was biblically usher, you get your money back. Like if it was tray for meat and you ate all the chops, you ate all the steaks, you get all your money back. What if it's rabbinically a problem? So if it's rabbinically usher for benefit, there are many things which the Chachamim usher for benefit, then you also get your money back. But if it's only usher ba'achila from the Chachamim, if the Chachamim are the ones who said don't eat it and that's it, and you already ate it, you don't get your money back. That's the law the Rambam paskins. He says the Rambam is mechalek between biblical and rabbinic, whether it's asur ba'anor or asur to eat. This halacha the Rambam says, no one knows the source. The Maggid Mishneh, the Rivash, the Kesef Mishneh, they say we're going to trust the Rambam for it. But the Rambam says, when it comes to faulty transactions for forbidden items, if the item was only asur to eat for consumption and only rabbinic, so if you haven't used it yet, it's still a mekach toys, you can go back and exchange. If you used it already, what's done is done, you don't get your money back. So, by the Nesivos HaMishpat gives his famous explanation like this. What's the pshat? The Nesivos says like this: when the Torah forbids something, the Torah forbids the essence. When the Torah says you can't have pig, the pig itself is asur. So if I ate the tray for pig, or if I ate the tray for chops, thinking it was mutter, right? And later on I find that it was treif, I'm repulsed by it, I'm revolted by it, because the thing itself was also, although I was unaware, so you get your money back. But says the Nesivos HaMishpat, the rabbis don't have the right to change the identity of an item. If God allows an item to be eaten, the rabbis can only say, we don't want you to eat it as a person, don't eat it. They can't change the status of the item. So says the Nesivos, so you can only violate a rabbinic command if you do it knowingly. Since the decree is only on the person, so if you knowingly violate it, so then you rebelled against the rabbis. But if you ate the food inadvertently, you did nothing wrong, you didn't know. The food itself is not essentially wrong, that's why the sale remains. That's the famous theory of the Nesivos HaMishpat in this din. So the Rogachev is kind of asking a question. Because if you ate a rabbinic food that was forbidden to eat, right? You ate cholav akum or something that's rabbinically forbidden, and according to the Nesivos HaMishpat, you did nothing wrong. Based on the Rambam's own halacha, that such a sale wouldn't be null and void. Such a sale would carry through once you ate it. So you should think you should be able to make a bracha. So the Rosh is kind of pointing out this. You'll have to say, listen, it's not the same thing. You'll have to say, when it comes to the sale, if you bought the item, which was rabbinically prohibited for consumption, and you ate it, so since you didn't do an aveira, the sale is done. You can't extract the money. But it could be you're still a little bit repulsed. You are. You're still a little bit repulsed. So you don't make a bracha. So you'll have to make that distinction. But here's the issue. According to the Rogachover, what does the Rambam hold about forbidden food? There's no prohibition. There's no benefit. The Ravid obviously holds you do make a bracha. We saw in number 8. The Ravid holds you make a bracha. Why? He must hold you have benefits. So how ironic it is that they flip their opinions in our case in Baba Basra. The Rambam says if you eat the forbidden fruit for 3 years, it works because you had Hana'ah. And the Ravid says, no, only the vines. It's the opposite. The Ravid believes forbidden food, you had Hana'ah. The Rambam, according to the Rogachover, is the one who says forbidden foods have no benefit. So the Rambam rules if you plow your field for 3 years, or even one of them, it doesn't work. And the Rambam says the reason, like Rav Haigon, there's no benefit. There are many halachas in Chezkas Habatim which the Rambam says are based on the fact you didn't have benefit. And all of a sudden, by the fruits of Orlah, Kilayim, it works because you had full benefit. The Rambam is the one who holds there's no benefit. So that's, according to the Rogachover, you have mamash this contradiction. L'chaira. If you jump on the next page for a second, look at number 12. Number 12 is a comment of Rabbi Yosef Kaira. In number 12, there's a comment from Rabbi Yosef Kaira. In his Beis Yosef, Ha'oichel dvar isur, says the Beis Yosef, what if someone eats treif b'makom sakana? Right, the case we had Thursday night. What if you're stuck in the Amazon rainforest and the ori from the Andes,
So you have to make sure the plane is full of Yidden.
Right. No, kosher, we said Jewish corpses are worse because then it's prohibited to have any benefit.
Exactly.
There's a mitzvah of burying. Now, if you had to choose, you take the Goyish corpse. That's for sure.
And no Cohen.
So, says the Beis Yosef, what if it was a Mokum Sakana, somebody's partial, your life is at stake, you eat treif. Do you make a bracha? So according to the Ravid, for sure, the Ravid holds you always make a bracha. The Rambam says you don't, but what would the Rambam hold if your life's at stake? So Kosav Rabbeinu Yerucham. Rabbeinu Yerucham was a rabbi in Spain. He was a student of the Rosh. Now the Rosh was Ashkenazi, but lived the end of his life in Toledo in Spain. Rabbeinu Yerucham was his student. And he brings b'shem the Rameh, who was a Rav in Toledo before the Rosh. So it makes sense, Rabbeinu Yerucham was in Toledo, he heard this tradition, or maybe he saw that the Rameh had paskin somewhere, she'einu mevarach alav. The Rameh, Rab Meir Halevi Abelifia holds, even if your life's in danger, you have to eat the treif. You have to eat the treif. No bracha.
No bracha.
Says the Beis Yosef, V'li nira, I don't think so. I think the Rambam would agree, the chol kahai gavna, that if your life's in danger, you do make a bracha.
No.
Beis Yosef disagrees.
No, there is
Now Rabbeinu Yerucham, what?
no.
Oh, so hold on. So, according to the Ragad Shaver, you could hear what the Rameh is saying. If the Rambam's issue is you can't make a bracha because treifa food have no geschmack, you could hear that even if you have to eat it to save your life, it's still repulsive to you. It's still repulsive. You have to eat it? Okay, it's repulsive. Look, so there's a few footnotes here from the Rebbe. Look at number 13 from the Rebbe. It's a Sichen Chayla Gimel Mitzayra. Va'afilu kishoy iser eina mitzad ha'maychel atzmai. Number 13. Look at that. It's number 13 and note 13. The Rebbe says even a piece of food that's not really essentially osur. Kiyim, it's only because what a person thought or what a person said. For example, if someone shechs for avodah zarah and makes the animal prohibited. The animal is a kosher animal, it's a beautiful lamb, it's punked what the guy, and there's a good shchitta. The shchitta was great, it's punked what the guy had in mind. It affects the flesh to the point that if you eat it, the flesh will have a negative impact on the one who consumes it. It will create a negative nature in the person who eats it. And he brings a proof from Elisha ben Avuya from Acher. The Medrash says in Rus Rabbah, why did Elisha ben Avuya go off the path? Because his mother, when she was expecting, ate from takrovis, from something that was offered to idol worship. And that caused that Elisha should go to Tarbus Ra. Now the Rebbe after explains that when a woman who's expecting has a desire for certain food, you give it to her because it could endanger her life. So the Rebbe says the mother was allowed to eat the food. Nonetheless, it was allowed to, first of all, the flesh wasn't osur in essence. It's only because of what the shaykhid had in mind. But it impurifies the food to the point that even though a yid is allowed to eat it, this woman, expectant woman, was allowed to eat it, it can affect her child. And look at number 14, Valpia now, the Rebbe says you can understand the psak of the Taz and the Shach. You ever heard this? Look at number 14. A woman who's nursing her child, who ate something that was osur, she should not nurse her kid, even though she was allowed to eat the food because of pikuach nefesh. The Shach and Taz paskin, if a woman was allowed to eat treifa food, her life was on the line, it nevertheless has a negative impact on her to the point she shouldn't nurse her kid. This is what the Taz and Shach paskin, this is bad. And the Rebbe says, moving, there's no difference between the Isra of Avodah Zarah or a Chazer. Right? Maybe it's only like by Elisha ben Avuya, whose mother ate something that was given over to idol worship. The Rebbe says, Faket Adarabba. By Avodah Zarah, which is only also because of the person's thought. Right? Nonetheless, it becomes impurified to the point that even though when you're allowed to eat it, it gives a bad nature. For sure, a Chazer, which is osur in essence, it's incredible. Look at number 15. The Rebbe adds, though, although it creates a negative nature, you have to eat it. B'makom sheyesh pikuach nefesh, it's a mitzvah to eat the food, even though it will cause a negative nature to you.
For the mother or the son?
Either or, both, or either or. Right. Punkt, the two cases before about the son. Right, but it could be for the person themselves as well. For example, you cut off one limb to save them. It's a sacrifice. You cut off a limb to save the body. You have to eat the tray for food to save your life, even though there's repercussions, there's side effects. It's the cost. The food doesn't change. Just because you're allowed to eat it doesn't change the nature of the food. Specifically says the Rebbe that in conclusion, even concerning a sick person, pikuach nefesh pushes away the isser. Not that it's matir. Pikuach nefesh doesn't say the tray for food is mutter. The tray for food is treif, but your life's more important. Yeah. Now just go down 3 lines. The Rebbe has a shail on a different Rogachov in Hilchos Shabbos, but 4 lines from the bottom. The Rebbe points out the famous note that he says, the Alter Rebbe in Igeres HaKodesh says, if you eat treif of food for pikuach nefesh, she'itiru razal are matir, it becomes a heter gomer. The word gomer is in brackets. V'ulai, maybe for the above reason, the word gomer is brackets. In some prints, it's not in brackets. If it's not in brackets, it means Alter Rebbe is saying, pikuach nefesh says, your life's in danger, the pork is now lamb.
It's not even there, the word gomer. Not the bracket, not the word, but the word's not even there. Not that the brackets are not there.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. But the difference if you have gomer in brackets, it means the Alter Rebbe is not so clear that it's gomer. It's the shaila of pikuach nefesh, not saying that the treif of food is lamb. The treif is treif, but your life's more important. We had a shir about this once. We spoke about Nazir. Your life is more important. So now another raya, number 16. Another raya to this. You have a sick person, a very ill person on Shabbos. They need flesh or they're going to die. You never had such a person. Oh, I need a piece of steak. I'm famished. I'm not going to make it, right? So what if it's not true? Someone needs that flesh and the pasha going to expire. So you have 2 options. You can either shecht a kosher animal, or you could. There's nevela, or there's treif, there's pork sitting there. Shechting a kosher animal will run you into breaking Shabbos, which is a isur skila. It's a prohibition that usually done on purpose, deliberately carries the harshest form of death penalty. Eating treif, a nevela, or pork is a loisase. Okay, we saw on Thursday that treif animal, that if it's pork, it's also an aseh that you violate by the land that wasn't shechted. There was Rabbi Kiveh machlokes if there's an aseh or just a loisase, fine. But it's not skila. So there was a major debate in the Rishonim. The Rashba said the guy should eat treif. Break Shabbos and shecht a kosher animal? Who gives you the right to break a cardinal sin, break Shabbos? There's a much lighter sin to eat the nevela. The Rashba, the Ravid, there were many pushing that. The Ran famously says it's better off to shech, because the Ran says, what's your question? How could you break Shabbos? It's so severe. Better eat the treif. Says the Ran, if you eat the treif, every single bite that you take, it's another violation. If you shecht, it's a one-time thing. And the Ran says that a small isser done many times is more severe than a more qualitative prohibition that's done once. What does the Rosh say about it? The Rosh was asked about it in a letter. And he quotes from his teacher, the Maram of Rothenburg, that the Maram of Rothenburg was gang ho yishech for the guy. For what reason? Not the same reason as the Ran. The Maram of Rothenburg said like this. If someone's Shabbos, what's prohibited on Shabbos? Actions. Don't do this, don't do that. The actions are prohibited. If someone's life is in danger, the action becomes permitted completely. Food items, if something's prohibited and your life's in danger, the food item doesn't become mutter. The importance of your life overrides the prohibition, but it's still treif for food. Right, so the vart is, if the guy is sick, shecht for him. Because since he's sick and you're allowed to shecht for him, there's no repercussion, there's no side effect, because since it's only an action, the action can make a 180 and become completely mutter. The identity of food being treif cannot make a 180. So look, I just want to read it in Saluk. He said, "V'chein b'choyle nami." Since b'kuach nefesh, we learned from the Gemara in Yuma that it's allowed to break Shabbos. So any malacha for a choyle whose life is on the balance, it's allowed b'Shabbos k'moi b'choyle. It's like a weekday. When it comes to shechting, it's like a weekday. There's no prohibition involved. So therefore, since the shchit is mutter, loy safinon le Yisroel, don't give him the nevela, because the nevela remains nevela. You're doing him a disservice by giving him the tray for food. Yeah, he's allowed to because his life is more important, but the forbidden food is still forbidden, and therefore, tray for food is being eaten. Elamai, the life is more important, but if you shecht, since it's only an action, the action can become completely permitted.
There's
Yes.
one very big problem with that.
Okay.
Because when you shech the animal, you also have to cook it. Otherwise,
No.
you're eating raw.
Taisus
drinking
asks
the
that.
blood.
No, that's a very good, very great question. The Taisus holds that if it's raw, it could be there's no issue of the blood. Yeah, that's what he discusses. Yeah, that's what he says. That's a very good question. It's a good question. It's dealt with. Very good. So hold on. So what do you see? Right, Rabbi Yosef Engel, by the way, goes to town with this rush, because this is a very important idea. That, see, Shabbos, it's only the action. It's also on Shabbos. This action you're allowed to do on Friday. You're allowed to shecht on Friday and Sunday. So the prohibition on Shabbos itself is much. It's not the action itself. If the action was abominable, it wouldn't be mutter right before and right after. It's only the person shouldn't conduct himself today in this manner. But the moment there's an excuse to do it, it becomes purely mutter. Food, tray for food is usher before, it always will be usher. It's usher in essence. That essence can't change. And that's why you're better off shechting for the chayil and the tray for food. So what's the point of all this? This is all in the understanding of the Rogid Shover. That why does the Rambam say there's no brocha on tray for food? Because there's no benefit. According to that, you can understand in number 12 why the Rameh would stretch the Rambam's opinion even for tray for food. Because there's room to argue, even when your life's in danger, and your life's in danger, that Rameh says, I don't care, eat it, yeah, you have to eat it, Beseder, no bracha, because you could still be repulsed by it. As you see, like the Rosh says, it remains usher, and the Rebbe discussed at length over here, it can even have a negative impact on you, so you're repulsed by it, disgusted by it. So I can understand the Rameh. This is all in the world of the Rogid Shover, but here's the problem, Chevra. According to the Rogid Shover, we have this major apparent inconsistency between the Rambam and the Ravid. The Rambam says all food which is asur warrants no bracha because there's no benefit. And he says if you had 3 years in the field, the fruits of the Orlah, Shmita, all forbidden fruits, no problem, Hayil v'nene, because he had benefit. I thought there's no Hana'ah. And the Ravid also flips. The Ravid says you make a bracha on all food because nene. Look at number 8. The last words of the Ravid was, you had Hana'ah. The last words of the Ravid number 8 was, since you had Hana'ah, you have to make a bracha. So how could he be the one to say that by the fruits it doesn't work? So I had the merit to spend a year in the yeshiva Chayvei Torah. Not the Chayvei Torah in Riverdale, but the one in Crown Heights, with the great Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Winner's Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Yisroel Labkowski, who was an a phenomenal scholar, incredible gem of a man. He has a very clear mind, and it was incredible. I just have regret that I didn't squeeze him out for more. You know, as Bochum, that always happens, right? Only later on in life you realize what you once had, the opportunities that we had. So Yisroel Labkowski believes that if you look in the Alter Rebbe has a completely different take on what the debate of the Rambam and the Ravid is about the brachas. And according to that, not only there's no contradiction to what they say about the Chazakah in the field, but actually it's going to fit mamash like a hand into the glove. How so? You sure? So, in number 17, Says the Alter Rebbe in number 17. Misha achal dvar isur. If someone ate something asur, afal pisha eino asur elam divrei sav. Even though it's only rabbinic, ein mezam ninolav. You can't make a zimun. Now that's a Gemara. Right? That's a Gemara. Like the Ravid told the Rambam. That I agree to you. That's a Gemara. It's the brachas part that I disagree. Says here the Alter Rebbe presents that to the yesh oimrim. Some say, this is the Rambam. Shehu adin she'ein mevorach achrav birchas hamazon. You don't bench bechlal. Even the birchas hamazon is a biblical command, and this guy ate all the bread. Doesn't matter. Afilu achol b'shoigig. Even if you ate it accidentally, only realize later. She'ein aveira mitzvah. An aveira cannot turn into a mitzvah. An aveira cannot turn into a mitzvah. You're full through an aveira. You can't turn that into a mitzvah. The im yoidei. Now, what if you know that it's asur and you want to eat it on purpose? Then you don't make a bracha in the beginning either. Right? Accidentally obviously means you found out later. If it's on purpose, then we can discuss the bracha rishon as well. But here the Alter Rebbe gives a different reason. Because ein ze mevorech elamanayitz. If you know it's asur, it's imagine if I take something from you, steal it, and I say, by the way, thank you very much. Those words, thank you, is such a, it's like, if I steal something, I say, oh, thank you very much for allowing me to have this. Those words are just sticking the dagger, just twisting the dagger inside of you, pouring salt on the wound. That's not a bracha, that angers God. Based on the pasuk, Obeitzei Beirech, that when the thief blesses, he angers Hashem, he disgusts Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe is saying here is like this. If the person is eating the treifa food on purpose, you can't make a bracha because there's a rule that angers Hashem. If it was b'shoigig, there's another logic. It was b'shoigig, I didn't mean to do this. Let me bench, I'm full, let me bench. You can't make a mitzvah out of an avera. So there's two different logics to the Rambam's din. The Ravid seems to hold you always make a bracha, whether b'shoigig, whether b'mezid. So he's going to have to argue on both of these points. So says the Alter Rebbe, v'yesh omrim, some say, shaloi omru kein ela b'mitzvah haba ba'avera. When do we say you can't turn an Aveira into a mitzvah? If you do a mitzvah which comes through an Aveira. She'ein roi lahazkir oleh Hashem shemaim. It's not fitting to say the Eibish's name on it. The ein mevarchana, you can't make a bracha on the mitzvah. Because ein Aveira mitzvah, Aveira can't become a mitzvah. Let me just explain for a second. Okay, if you steal a matzah from someone, right? So you have to return that piece of matzah itself. When you pick up that matzah, as you're holding it, you have to return this very piece of matzah. As you put in your mouth and you're chewing it, you're doing a second act of theft, because you're supposed to be giving back this piece of matzah itself that you stole. You're not just damaging the guy's matzah, you're doing another act of theft. If you do that, then you're not, it's called the mitzvah haba ba'aver, the mitzvah of eating matzahs through an aver of stealing. You're not yaitze, right? A mitzvah, you're not, it disqualifies the mitzvah. Some hold biblically, most hold only rabbinically, right? Many would say matzah doesn't have to be yours to be yaitze, so you're really your yaitze. The Chachamim invalidated it because it came through theft. Fine, that's his machlekes if mitzvah haba ba'aver is a rabbinic disqualification or biblical disqualification. But you definitely can't make a bracha on it because there are at least midrabanon they disqualified the mitzvah. What about another case? You stole wheat from someone. If you steal wheat from someone, you have to return the wheat. But if then you come home and you grind the wheat into flour, or if you take flour and you made bread out of it, once you make a change, you don't give back that item. You pay the guy money. This item now is yours. Right, it's yours. Even though you haven't paid the guy yet, this is now yours. The Torah makes this yours, now you owe the guy money. So here, if you eat the matzah, you're yaitze. If you stole wheat or you stole flour, and you made it into matzah, you don't have to give this matzah back to the guy. You're koine b'shin, acquired by change. You have to pay the guy money. Even before you pay the guy, you already own this. So you're yaitze the mitzvah of matzah. Nonetheless, the Alter Rebbe says you don't make a bracha on it, even though you're fulfilling the mitzvah. Because since it came through an Aveira, it's not appropriate. Now, not everyone holds of this, but this is the halacha the Alter Rebbe has. The Alter Rebbe also brings it in Hilchos Tzitzis, that if you stole material from someone and made it into tzitzis, and you made a real change, so the tzitzis are yours. You just have to pay the guy back for that material. And therefore, when you wear it, you're yaitze, because right now it's yours. You don't make a bracha on it, because the mitzvah came through an avera. So we take it quite extreme. So over here, the Alter Rebbe is explaining for the Ravid that if a mitzvah comes through an avera, you don't mention Hashem's name. You don't make a birchas mitzvahs, because ein avera mitzvah. The words ein avera mitzvah come from a Yerushalmi in Masechta Chala. I have it number 9. I don't know if we'll get there. But an avera can't become a mitzvah. Hold on. But which case of matzah does that kind of links to the first case when you're eating the matzah, which itself that you stole, so the mitzvah is together with the avera. But if you stole wheat or flour and you changed it, so now the matzah is yours, so you are fulfilling the mitzvah, right? In this case, you fulfill the mitzvah. Why didn't you make a bracha? Because ein avera mitzvah, but it is a mitzvah, right? So I'm just not for confusion purposes. Maybe it is for confusion purposes, but either the Alter Rebbe in this line is not the Alter Rebbe loy nochis.
The Alter Rebbe would say that you don't make it.
No, the Alter Rebbe is going to agree. Hold on. But the point is, Alter Rebbe is trying to differentiate between when it comes to a mitzvah, you stay away from making a bracha if an avera is involved. Birchas hanen is different. You have to bench, even if you ate an iser tur b'mezid. The Alter Rebbe understands, according to the Ravid, even if it's biblical on purpose, you go to McDonald's, you push it eating the treif, you make a bracha. No, he's quoting him. And he says, because if someone eats garlic and your breath smells, you should eat some more and have even worse breath. Because I'm eating treif, I shouldn't make a bracha? Avera should bring in, no, why? I should also have benefit from olam hadar without a bracha? No, you make a bracha, according to the Ravid. The issue is only for a zimun. Why? Because since your friends are not allowed to eat with you, right? So b'chlal they're separate. Now, what if all of you are in McDonald's? What if 3 guys are eating the burger in McDonald's, right? What about b'nei chapuda shekula nachlu? What if they're all eating asur foods? Ein lehem keva. It's not prestigious. It's not like they're eating them. It's a snack. Because this is what the Ravid said. Ein keva v'chibur l'dvarim asurim cannot unite. Prohibitions don't unite people, and there's. The haris is like eating fruits which don't have kevel zimun, which don't are not substantial enough to be considered set and official to make a zimun. But a bracha beginning and the end, why should you not bench since you had benefit? Which is word for word from the Ravid. If you notice, the Alter Rebbe only quotes the Ravid's response to the first argument of the Rambam. The Rambam has 2 arguments. If you're eating on purpose, you can't, because ein ze mevarach elo, you're angering God. You're angering God. What if it was by mistake? So for that, the Rambam said, ein avera mitzvah. An avera can't become a mitzvah. The Alter Rebbe quotes the Ravid saying, no, the rule of ein avera mitzvah is by general mitzvahs. By all mitzvahs that you do, so if there's an avera involved, you don't make a bracha. But birchas hanen is different. But he doesn't really deal with the ein ze mevarach elo manayitz issue, which comes from a Gemara in Baba Kama.
Garlic, the example.
Okay, but he doesn't. No. Hold on.
Complete opposite logic.
That's while is contrasting between ein avera mitzvahs everywhere else, but birchas hanen and you would. That seems to be the shogeg. Because look at the last line. He says le'inyan halacha. The Alter Rebbe says who's right, the Rambam or the Ravid. The Alter Rebbe quotes the Taz, who says it depends. If you ate it b'shogeg, you do bench after, because there we're going to take the Ravid's logic. But if you do it b'mezid, you don't, not before and after, because ein ze mevarach elo manayitz. So it sounds like the Ravid was convincing to us if it's b'shogeg, but not so convincing about b'mezid. So the hachra is really nishtahin nishtaher, right? That's what a hachra is. You take a bit of both, which no one's happy, right? Whenever you make a pshara in a court case, right, and you come to an agreement, it's really no one really is happy. No one's happy.
That's how you know you did a good job at the pshara.
Can we?
The Gemara has a machlokes in Sanhedrin. If it's good to hold on. Yeah. Hold on. So the Alter Rebbe goes like the Taz, so we divide it. If it was b'shogeg, we take like the Ravid. You make a bracha. If it's b'mezid, you don't. Fine. But here's the thing. According to the Alter Rebbe, what's the debate of the Rambam and the Ravid? Does the Rambam say anything about not having benefit? Like the Rogat Shava? No. That was never the Rambam's issue. The The Rambam never said there's no benefit. There's full-fledged benefit. But there's a problem. If it's on purpose, you're angering Hashem. The Gemara says in Baba Kama that Tzadik Dal, this idea about stealing something and making it angers Hashem. It's a concept in Gemara. Even if it's accidental, so how did I anger Hashem? I ate it, it was an accident. It's a mitzvah ba'avera.
How would the Alter Rebbe explain?
Because I'll look at number 17. The Alter Rebbe says, for the Mazid you say ein ze mavorach elamanayitz. For the Shoigig he says the logic ein avera mitzvah. You can't make a mitzvah out of an avera. You ate the food accidentally, doesn't matter. Since it's an avera, you can't turn into a mitzvah.
But you do make a bracha afterwards.
No, the Rambam you don't, because you can't make a mitzvah. Yeah, but say hold on, we're not talking about halacha, we're talking about how he presents the debate to the Rambam Ravid. Hold on. So the Rambam holds its full-fledged benefit. There's issues though, there's local issues of brachas that don't allow you to bench. According to the Ravid, you had benefit, but the Ravid says, wait a second, the Ravid says, if you had benefit, so make a bracha. Why can't you make a zimun? So the Ravid said, it must be, it's not official enough. It must be, it's not set. It must be, it's too casual. It's too casual. Did the Rambam ever say it's casual? No. He never had to say that. According to the Rambam, you don't make a zimun because you can't bench, because there's local issues as brachas. The Ravid doesn't hold of the local issues of brachas. The Ravid holds, you had hana'ah, you make a bracha. So the Ravid's bothered. So how could the Gemara say you don't make a zimun with this guy? It must be, it's too casual. But the Rambam never said it's casual. He never had to say that. You don't make a bracha because it angers Hashem or because mitzvah ba'avera. So it says in Labkowski, it's beautiful. When it comes back to the Baba Basra Sugya, the Rambam says, you ate the fruits of the Orlah, the Shemitah, or the Kilayim. The Rambam holds you had hana'ah. And the Rambam holds this isn't casual. He never said it's casual. It's just full-fledged hana'ah. It's osur. That's not a problem by Chezkas Gimel Shanim. The fact is, this guy used your field to the utmost. He squeezed it out wherever he could for 3 years. You should have been threatened that he's running your field like he's the balabas. The Ravid is the one who had an issue. The Ravid says, I think fruits are hana'ah. But the Ravid says, tray for food gives you benefit. So why can't you do zimun on someone that tray for food? The Ravid had to be mechadish, it's too casual. So then it's not going to work for Chezkas Gimel Shanim. Tray for fruit is too casual. That's why he says you have to have the branches. Unbelievable. So if you don't learn like the Rogat, you learn, if you're Medayik and Alter Rebbe, it actually comes, the Rambam Ravid, mamish, it's the only thing they could have said. And it comes out Gavaldik in number 18. The Alter Rebbe says, what if somebody had a tray for food b'mokum sakana? He says, L'divrei hakol, you make a bracha before and after. And here he says, because heter, the Alter Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe doesn't quote the Rameh. To 50, hold on, the Alter Rebbe, the Rebbe quotes that in the Sikha and Chele Yutes. The Alter Rebbe says, Im achav you eat a isur b'makom sakana, according to everyone you bench before and after. Because first of all, it's mutter for you. So here, Taka, he doesn't have, there's no gomer in brackets. Fine. Yeah, the Rebbe points that out in the Har somewhere. Not that it's a mitzvah that you're doing to save your soul. The Alter Rebbe says, L'divrei hakol, meaning there's no room for the Rameh's opinion. According to the Rogat Shaver, that why does the Rambam say you don't make a bracha on tray for food because there's no benefit? It's not geschmack, you're disgusted by it. So there's room to say, even if your life's in danger, we saw many stories, you're still disgusted. According to the Alter Rebbe, it's never the word. It's either mitzvah ba ba'avera or you're angering Hashem. So for that, neither of them applies. It's mutter, it's a mitzvah. There's no avera, you're not angering Hashem. So that's why in the Alter Rebbe's world, the divrei hakol, there's no room to say that there's no bracha when your life's in danger. There has to be a bracha. So according to this, Alt is fine and dandy.
This is why.
Okay. Now questions. Okay.
Number 9.
And 11. Yeah.
This is the last point as to